Hi, this is Elizabeth from MamaCanDoIt.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make mittens with your sewing machine. The first thing that you're going to need is the pattern. On MamaCanDoIt.com you can pick one of these up for $5. Pretty cheap, and you'll be making 100 pairs of mittens in no time for super uber cheap. The second thing you're going to need to do is actually cut your pattern, your pieces out with your pattern. I've already done this, as you can see here. You're also going to need 2 pieces of elastic. On the pattern it is specified how much elastic you're going to need per mitten. You're going to need scissors, and you're going to need a seam ripper as well as a safety pin. Okay, let's get started. The first thing that you're going to need to do is to put your pieces mirroring each other. So these 2 pieces of the inside of the mitt are here. And then I'm going to put on the thumb pieces, just like this. Now, if you're using a printed piece of fabric, you're going to want the prints to be facing each other. So this is basically inside out how this is here. Okay, the next step is going to be to sew each of these at 3/8 of a seam allowance. Let's do that. Okay, now that I've gotten both of these thumbs sewn onto the hand piece here, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it, open it like this. Remember, if this is printed right here, you're going to see the nice print on this side. Then I'm going to fold the thumb inward like this. Kind of have to adjust your fabric a couple times. Okay, so you can see I'm kind of pinching it like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew from this seam all the way up and stop here. So I'm going to close in that thumb. You can watch me do that. I'm actually going to start at the seam. And I'm going to do that with a 3/8 seam allowance as well. Well, my thumb turned out kind of funny. I think I'm hurrying for the video. But you can see what I've done is I started on this seam and I went all the way up and around the thumb, and I stopped obviously at the end. Now if I was to take this and put it right side out, I'd have a perfect thumb. Okay, I'm going to do that for the other mitten as well. Okay, this one definitely looks a lot better. Okay, so see what I have done with the thumb. Now that's the hardest part. Now the next part is going to be to turn this right side out, like that. Same thing with the other one. So now you have the inside palm of 2 mirroring mittens. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is take the back part of your mitten that you've already cut out and you're going to lay it on top. Easy peasy. Now, because I've got this thumb here, I only want to sew up to this seam. So I'm going to have it inside out. So if you had a print, your print would be on the inside. I'm going to sew up here, up to the thumb seam. Okay, I sewed up to the seam of the thumb. The thumb is poking through right here. I sewed right along the edge up to the seam. Now I'm going to start on the opposite edge, which would be this one, and sew all the way around until I meet the seam again. But I don't want to hit that thumb that's poking through right here. So I'm actually going to push that down inside so that I won't hit it. Let's sew this down. So I sewed all the way from this corner all the way up and around to the thumb seam. Now if I turn my mitten right side out, my thumb will be perfect. There won't be any bunches in it. This is a child-sized mitten and I can't fit my hand inside it. Okay. So this is what you have. Now I'm going to do the other mitten and I'll be right back. Okay, now that I have both of my mittens completely sewn together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it right side out. And we are going to make a casing for the elastic. Okay, now it looks like a regular mitten. Now we're going to take our pattern piece, and this line right here, this is where we want to fold it to. So fold the hem, or actually it's not a hem yet, fold the open edge of the mitten so that it about lines up with that line. So it almost looks like a cuff. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew about 1/2 inch from this folded edge here. This is kind of tricky, but you can do it. It doesn't have to be exactly 1/2 inch. 3/8 of an inch is good. I think that's what I put on the pattern. 3/8, 1/2 inch. They're about the same anyway. Okay. Well, remember how I told you this was an elastic casing? But you can see I went all the way around. And that's the way that I want you to do it. The next step is to take your handy dandy seam ripper and you're going to pop a seam open. I like to do it on the side of the mitten that does not have the thumb. So you can see the thumb is here. I'm going to do it on this side. And see this little seam right here on the edge? On the inside of your casing. So you can see that seam you just sewed. You don't want to go past that, just this part right here. You're going to want to rip that out. Pretty easy. Make sure the opposite side is open. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to take your elastic and you're going to have the safety pin attached to it. And you go right inside that casing with the safety pin. Hold this side, make sure it doesn't go all the way through or you'll be doing it over and over and over. If I wasn't on the video, I'd probably put it in my teeth, because that is usually how I hang on to it. I guess you could always safety pin it to the other side. See, it's trying to make its way out. Okay, so I've got my elastic pulled all the way through. Remove your safety pin. I'm going to put these two pieces of elastic together and I'm just going to zip across it a couple times to hold it in place. Close to the edge, I mean within 1/4 inch. Just going to go back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to snip those strings. Okay, now I'm just going to open up my mitten a little bit so it can go, all the elastic goes back in the casing. Now, if this wasn't fleece, if it was some kind of designer cute fabric, I'd probably run a stitch across here, but because it's fleece, I know it's not going to fray. I'm not worried about it. Okay, now it's time to snip our strings. I think I got them all. All right, now flip it all the way out. So you can see inside the mitten you have this wonderful elastic cuff. Now when your babies put their hands in there, it's going to keep snow out and keep it nice and tight to their hand. The next step is totally optional. If you've got fleece, you know it's not going to fray on the edges. You've already reinforced your stitching. I honestly wouldn't even worry about finishing the edge. Thanks for joining me today. Go to www.mamacandoit.com and click on the winter gear category and you'll find this mitten sewing pattern. Don't forget, it is for sizes baby all the way up into a large adult, and so you'll be able to make mittens for your whole family for next to nothing. I've got some great ideas on how you can make budget friendly mittens, and so you almost don't have to spend anything. So have a great day and happy sewing!